Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I've lost my entirety of my intro, so here I'm doing it again. I know I've been leaving it dead for. First of all, I want to thank my new subscriber for joining. I know I've been leaving this channel dead for a while because I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, but I decided I want to start a series called I Read Whatever Book So You Don't Have to, where I choose a book that was badly rated, and I not only read the reviews to you and people said, but I also where I also read the entirety of the book, where it's different compared to what other people have done. So yeah, the first book we're gonna review and talk about today is Modelland. To kick this off with. So yeah, if you want using this format, if you have a book idea of a really bad book you've written, please give me suggestions. Leave them in the comments. And if I find one that I like of yours, I will mention your name in a future video, as well as obviously read aloud the book that you've chosen, and read the reviews on it and such. So yeah, so today we're going to start off with Modelland. So on Amazon, they're selling only the hardcover version. Now, you can't get soft cover in this book for whatever reason. It's just hardcover. She's still selling it for $36. But here's an interesting thing. There's only one left to stock, so that's interesting. So now let's get into the description. It does have a 4, I think the star rating on it was like pretty high. I don't see the ratings anymore. It has a rating of 4 out of 5 stars out of 179 reviews. That's what that means right there at the top left. So let's see. So let's read the description first. And so the description says, Modelland, the fierce new novel by Tyra Banks, is out. No one gets in without being asked, and with her untamable hair, large forehead, and gawky body, Tuki de la Creme isn't expecting an invitation. Modelland, the exclusive mysterious place on top of the mountain, never dares to make an appearance in her dreams. But someone has plans for Tuki. Before she can blink her mismatched eyes, Tuki finds herself in the very place every girl in the world obsesses about, and 3 unlikely girls have joined her. Only 7 extraordinary young women become Intoxibellas each year, famous, worshipped, magical. What happens to those who don't make it? Well, no one really speaks of that. Some things are better left unsaid. Thrown into a world where she doesn't seem to belong, Tuki glimpses a future that could be hers if she survives the beastly catwalk corridor and terrifying thigh-high boot camp. Along the way, she learns all about friendship, courage, laughter, and what it feels like to start to believe in yourself. When you enter the fantastical world of Modelland, you'll see that Tuki was inspired by Tyra's life as a supermodel. All those crazy and wild adventures Tuki has with her friends, some of them were ripped straight from the headlines of Tyra's life. Tyra knows all about beauty and fashion and fierceness, and she shares everything here in Modelland. It's fun, zany, and 100 bazillion% Tyra. You don't want to miss Tyra's amazing new novel. And now this was an Amazon review that was written by Tyra for Amazon. I'm not sure what she's doing with getting Amazon, but anyway, here it is. From the moment the idea for Modelland came to me while driving down the FDR to the second my editor said, "Pencils down, Tyra." 5 long years passed, but Modelland finally made its way into the world. Once the novel hit the shelves, I began smizing from ear to ear, and then embarked on a 5-city tour to bring Modelland to my fam. I called them fams, not fans, because they are family to me. In between Los Angeles, Dallas, Chicago, Miami, and New York, I found one common theme between everyone that came to see me. Every city, young girls shared fears and questions on how to accept their appearances and how to deal with bullies who make self-love that much harder. When I was in elementary school, I was the mean girl. I was the bully. Then I turned 11, grew 3 inches, lost 30 pounds in 3 months, and suddenly found that I was the one being bullied. Perhaps this action was deserved. I got the chance to see how I made other girls feel when I was the leader of the mean pack. Nevertheless, I've seen both spectrums and want children and adults all over to realize that bullying is not okay. On my book tour, I realized that Modelland would allow me to continue to reach young girls and push society's idea of beautiful, just like America's Next Top Model. Anyone who's watched this show knows that I am passionate about atypical beauties, and Modelland is continuing that idea. The campy, fun, and adventurous world of Tookie de la Creme and Modelland works to share the message of celebrating individuality and unique beauty by transporting readers to my wacky, neon, magical world of fantasy sprinkled with glimpses of my personal life, experiences, and a larger... Wait, let me reread that sentence. This campy, fun, and adventurous world of Tookie de la Creme and Modelland works to share the message of celebrating individuality and unique beauty by transporting readers to my wacky, neon, magical world of fantasy sprinkled with glimpses of my personal life, experiences, and a larger message of beauty and acceptance. While I dreamt of Tookie, I put many of my own traits into her personality and appearance, from her forehead that goes on and on and on to her insecurity to the fact that she started modeling at 15. More importantly, I created Tookie to relate to everyone and serve as a platform for discussion regarding the fact that beauty should not be defined by clothing size, hair color, or body shape. I want my readers to connect with Tookie and her friends in Modelland, Shira's, Dylan, and Piper, because they are different, because they are unique, and because they represent you. So now I give Modelland to you and encourage you to not only enter the thrilling world, but connect with Tookie and her journey while expanding your own definition of beauty. Now this was a review put out by the Publishers Weekly. A combination of absurdity, social commentary, and familiar tropes make it an enjoyable guilty pleasure. About the author. I don't really have to read that. This is reading age from 12 to 15 years, but it's so bad that everybody's kind of reading it anyway. And yeah, that's the review. Let's look and we're gonna read 10 positive reviews and 10 negative reviews, and then we'll get into reading the actual book. This is a video. Let's watch this. It's really kind of a mix of reviews. And we're going to read the first 10 or so and then get into it. We're going to filter them by most recent. Lady Marmalade gives it 3 stars and says, so bad it's entertaining. Reviewed in the United States on July 2nd, 2021. I'm not sure this is an actual book I read, I'm not sure this is an actual book I read and not a hallucination. Alex Page gives it 1 star. 576 pages will never get back. You know how when you eat a meal, your body processes all the fats and nutrients, and the rest is waste that goes into the toilet? This book is like someone consumed every young adult novel, from Harry Potter to Hunger Games and crept out Modelland. Kevin Holmes just commented on the condition of the book and gave it 5 stars in great condition. Shipping was very good, arrived a day too early, and was in much better condition than I was expecting. Excellent interaction. Elizabeth Wins Tyra gives it 3 stars and says, there is literally no other book in the world even remotely like Modelland. I mean it. I literally don't know where to begin with Modelland. I gave it 3 stars because honestly it deserves either 5 stars or 1. And 3 is in the middle. It does not actually deserve 3 stars. Modelland is an all or nothing kind of journey. This is what you need to know. Tyra Banks is on some damn good drugs, and you too can experience one of her days-long trips by simply reading this book. You know how Ken Kesey wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? A much better book than this one. While high on LSD, Modelland is very that. In sheer insanity alone, it was fantastic. I will give Ty this. The incredibly bizarre story, characters, and world building are entirely unique and mystifying. You'd read something once, read it again to convince yourself it was real, and then gaze open-mouthed into the distance trying to figure out how a human being came up with it. Guru applause and their labyrinth pale man-like head-hand-eyeball combinations, dipping children into vats of food and then showering them up in chocolate sauce. The concept of a literal sport called Man Attack, in which victory can be attained by doing your clothes, hair, and makeup while also wrestling. And then taking a fierce picture. I mean, sure, why not? It's Modelland. The story itself is okay at best. It's like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. If Harry were terrible at everything and Dumbledore was secretly planning to kill him for the whole book. Oh wait, that is what happens. Weird-looking girl that totally is in a conglomeration of Tyra's most flawless features gets sent away to magic model school, where she unironically lives in a place called the D, sucks a man's thumb after meeting him for the first time, and hangs out with her friends who can't remember which classes they've been to. Then you have the beautiful, perfect, incredibly famous model, who is somehow also Tyra, who is good, then evil, then good, then evil, then crazy, then good again until you stop caring altogether. What really makes Modelland sing is the combination of all these things together. You take character, story elements, settings, and plot lines that would be bizarre and terrible in any story, but somehow together they become almost normal. I can't even tell you which part of this book is most outrageous because honestly each thing was just as unfathomable as the next. My absolute favorite part of Modelland is page 4 of the 10-page acknowledgement where Tyra thanks her editor. Either this editor just took Tyra's money and then straight up did not read the book, which to be honest good for her, or is a terrible editor because it is riddled with mistakes. Tyra then goes on to thank a laundry list of hotels in various countries for letting her write in their lobbies. I'm pretty sure they have to let people sit in the lobby, Tyra. You aren't special. In conclusion, I highly suggest you grab a buddy and take turns reading the story out loud to one another, possibly on a 10-day road trip in which neither of you can escape. I promise it will bond you with that person for life, because no one who hasn't a second. Because no one who hasn't read this monstrosity will believe you when you try to explain it. No one. Thank you. Fierce in love. Well, that's helpful. And next woman is a woman named Linda Manning. She gives it 1 star and says, boring. It was long and boring. Couldn't keep the interest in it. Think twice about buying and save your money. Now this person with just the initials JKDBT gives it a 5-star review and says, a wacky, wonderful ride. He's also now a verified purchaser. Reviewed, I ordered Modelland because I heard some excerpts of the book at a live reading a month or so ago. Okay, so this is not deep literature. What it is a real romp through some gonzo fashionista stream of consciousness seeming writing. Bear with me here. Oddly relatable characters, at least some of them, and sure it gets a little sloggy at times, but don't we all? It's a great distraction while I'm stuck at home during COVID spring. And then Heather gives it 3 stars and says, just don't take it seriously. Hoo boy, okay, so far this is the only young adults book in the ONTD book club I've actually genuinely liked. Yes, it's by Tyra Banks. Yes, it's a trope of Lulz Fest, but damn, this book has had some kind of heart. The book had a lot of creative ideas. Some were kind of incredible, if far out and impossible, and some were incredibly childish. There's this fantastical adventure going on in a school that is pretty mysterious and magical, with people who have special powers given to them by instruments they acquire, and a legendary and famous person is keeping her eyes on the hero. Much enjoyment I got out of the book, though. It has its flaws, and oh, so many of them. The characters, first off, nearly everyone is Tyra to some extent. It's incredibly obvious if you watched America's Next Top Model or Tyra's talk show. I think as much as she tried to base Tookie on herself, CIL and Belladonna wound up the closest interpretations, along with Dylan, who was a stereotype. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but nearly everything Dylan said was essentially for comedic effect, with the exception of a few sentences, and while I can forgive a few characters being comic relief-ish, I really like them to be developed as well. If you can go into it with a sense of humor and the mindset that this isn't supposed to be taken seriously, you'll love it. Alright, just a few more here. Shina Watkins. One of my favorite books, gives it 5 stars. I don't care what other people say. The book transports me to my childhood. I was afraid I would be scammed and receive a bad book, but I wasn't. I'm glad I bought it. It came in excellent condition. David A. Sills gives it 1 star and says, bought as a gift for someone else. Did not read, nor do I intend to. Tyjas Najia gives it 5 stars and says, I love Tyra and definitely live in her Modelland. And Sherry Treader gives it 1 star and says, a 3rd grader could have written a better story. This is probably the dumbest thing I have ever read. A 3rd grader could have written a better story. And Tracy M gives it 5 stars and says, wonderful book. That's how you know it's bad, when that's all they say. Miss Dawn D.S. Ong gives it 1 star and says, teen daughter did not like this book. Hillary K. gives it a 5 star and says, Modelland is terrible and everyone should read it. This book is next level bonkers. It is a train wreck from start to finish, and like a real train wreck, you cannot look away no matter how much you may want to. The book is about 600 pages, and it only took me a couple of days to finish because I could not believe the abomination I was reading. That said, you must read it. You took Tyra 5 years to write this book. Literally look it up. I imagine her writing it while watching Willy Wonka and the Harry Potter series on repeat, while taking shrooms for the entire 5 years. This book reminds me of those creative writing assignments we all had in middle school, when we thought we were geniuses and hilarious. Rhyming character names, check. Ray, Faye, Albert, Talbert. Other terrible character names, check. Tuki de la Creme is the main character. Her mother goes by Creamy, Miracle. Grown worthy on the nose fictional location names, check. Shavira is cold. Candelabra manufactures candles. Candelabra. Sesame Candelabra manufactures candles. The brother modeling school is named Testosterone. I would continue, but I would basically just be rewriting the book. Well, some of the book was predictable. I got to hand it to Tyra. Most of it was so insanely weird that I had no idea what would happen next. Somewhat embarrassingly, I found myself covering up the ends of the chapters so my eyes wouldn't ruin the suspense. The book ends suddenly, leaving a million loose ends. Lizzie, which is both infuriating and embarrassing that it infuriates you. But don't stop there. The 25 or so pages of acknowledgments are equally hilarious. Tyra thanks the normal people, but also locations and inanimate objects. Spoiler alert, Lake Como and the stairs in the New York Public Library. And if my review doesn't make you want to read this book, hit the site with the 10 worst and best quotes in the book, superimposed into crazy pictures of Tyra. Alright, so that's all I'm going to read for right now as far as the reviews go. I'm sure nobody wants to read this. 5 stars. Hideously offensive. I love so bad it's good type thing, so when I heard that Tyra Banks had written a novel about a boarding school for magical superpowered models, I was thrilled. It seemed like the perfect train wreck, the kind that only comes around once in a great while. I dived in excited beyond belief. Oh, how foolish and naive of me. I will not attack Tyra's grammar or her storytelling skills. Awful as they are, bad writing is great entertainment for me. If this book was merely poorly written, I would have given it 2 or 3 stars just for comedy value. What compelled me to actually write this review is her horrible insensitivity to just about every human being to ever exist. If Tyra Banks thinks this book is empowering to young girls, she is dead wrong. I can't remember ever experiencing something more sexist. If you can think of a negative stereotype of women, particularly those in the modeling industry, it is probably in this book. The girls at Modelland are vapid, boy crazy, catty, and self-absorbed. The boys at the neighboring school don't fare much better, and are pretty much there just to be eye candy. That is not something I simply inferred. It is actually spelled out in the book. Even the moral of the story, that true beauty is on the inside, is stomped flat. One character spends most of the story actively rebelling against her society's standards of beauty, but it is only when she forms that anyone treats her with any respect. Another girl's promiscuity makes her the target of the main character's name-calling. The book does not stop at sexism, no. It goes on to offend the homeless, the mentally ill, those with deformities, every nationality you can think of, and, bizarrely enough, actors. A homeless... The book does not stop at sexism, no. It goes on to offend the homeless, the mentally ill, those with deformities, every nationality you can think of, and, bizarrely enough, actors. A homeless, psychotic, self-harming girl is abandoned twice by her only friend. The protagonist, and eventually attempts suicide. It is implied that she succeeds. This is treated as nothing but a minor, occasional source of angst for our dear protagonist. Another homeless character is treated with utter contempt from beginning to end, and when she has a mental breakdown, not a single supposedly heroic character does anything to help her. Real-world problems such as drug addiction and eating disorders are brought up to provide tragic backstories to a couple characters, but aren't really discussed any further. Characters who have any sort of defect that extends beyond looking ugly are almost invariably referred to as it, and the word freak is thrown around a few times. Non-human characters whose genders are clearly defined are also called it, more often than not. Oh boy, let's talk about the countries. Nearly every nation you can think of is represented by a collection of stereotypes. For example, the Netherlands stand-in is called Tulip, and is described as the land of windmills. The sort of treatment extends to seemingly every country Tyra knows. Egypt becomes Paramedian, Russia is Kremlingrad, and so on. Though these nations have their own languages as well, but whenever Tyra isn't taking an existing language and slapping a new name on it, she just has people make weird sounds and calls it a language. Other bits and pieces, most authority figures at Modelland have some strange thing against actors, going out of their way to insult the entire profession for seemingly no reason. I'm still not sure whether or not this was meant to be taken seriously. Parental abuse, both verbal and physical, is used as a cheap way to make the characters on the receiving end seem more sympathetic, in order to make the abusers seem more villainous. There is an entirely gratuitous attempt rape in a flashback. As I read further, my horror grew. I wanted so badly for this book to be a laugh amid a cheese fest, but the sheer offensiveness was too off-putting. I wanted to say Tyra had her heart in the right place when she was writing this drivel, but I'm not sure if I really believe it. One more. Tan writes, bad, bad, bad. I like Tyra. I like her modeling. I thought that when she wrote a young adult book about modeling, that it would be greatly insightful and perhaps a behind-the-scene of America's Next Top Model. I was so far off base that I landed in Sweden Orphan. I can't think of a book so poorly written, with a meandering, difficult-to-follow plot and even less developed characters. It's just awful. Names of characters and places and many words are made-up nonsense words that make you laugh out loud to read and not in a funny way. The descriptions of settings, again, are so hard to imagine and follow because it's just not grounded in anything. I get it that it is fantasy, but even the Hunger Games had a relatable setting. The only thing I could imagine was an anime cartoon. Scouts looking for models fly over the world with pouches that the girls somehow end up in. At one point, while in the reign of candelabra, the pouch girls were in fills with candle wax, but they don't drown in it and can breathe. It makes no sense. If you must read it, borrow it from the library. Kindle customer put 1 star and put, Tyra, keep your day job. Okay, so I got this book for my girls to read, as we are fans of the Tyra Banks show. They started and stopped reading the book, stating that they couldn't follow the story. So I took it upon myself to prove them wrong. Surely the wonderful Tyra Banks could pen with help a story for tweens, but about 50 pages in, I had to agree with them. Honestly, I couldn't finish as the story was so far-fetched, strangely written, and simply one of the worst things I've ever read. Tyra, do yourself a favor and keep your day job, because writing just isn't for you. This dude called Buttcakes must obviously just like her, because he says here, he writes a review and he says, almost orgasmic. I had to read this. 5 stars. Upon reading this book, I was instantly struck with the quality with which it was written. From the sophisticated, beautifully executed language knot, to the colorful descriptions of every scenery, to the stunning depth of the character development, Tyra Banks' masterpiece continuously filled my every orifice with literary gold. The main protagonist of the novel, Tookie de la Creme, I found to be extremely easy to identify with. Every aspect of Tookie's experience in Modelland, I found, was an exact replica of my own experience in college. In fact, I literally creamed my panties upon reading Tyra's description of Tookie's gawky, awkward body and her orgasmically mismatched eyes. In general, Ty's play on words never failed to make me ache from laughing, and the complex bendingly intricate plot really caused me to rethink my entire life, as well as the world in which we live. I must say, reading Modelland was quite the sensory experience. Not unlike the LSD I was taking while reading it. Yes, I eat an LSD time my own self. Shadowy puts one star, had high hopes, which were dashed up on the rocks crazy. When I heard about this book while watching ANTM, America's Next Top Model, I was so intrigued that I couldn't wait to read it. The story starts off interesting and light, then it turns dark but still interesting, then it gets less and less interesting and more bizarre. I wasn't expecting a masterpiece, but I wanted to have a good time and not go into Clockwork Orange territory. I forced myself to read the last half of the book because I just had now, but I wish I could go back in time and warn myself as I am warning you now. Tyra Banks is still a fun and entertaining person. However, she should retire her pen. Alright guys, that's all I'm going to read for now. Let's finally jump into the first chapter of this book. In the meantime, I am going to roll my second joint now to smoke while I am reading this because everybody says it's better with a joint. This is only okay for the people who are illegal out there to smoke. If you are watching my channel and you are under the age of 18, please do not pick up marijuana as of yet. But for those of us who are legal to smoke, let's light up. We're all gonna need it. Alright, my joints rolled. Let's get into this. Now, I'm not gonna show it on screen because this is PG. However, I am gonna stop this intro video here and start reading the next one. I'm gonna try to do about hopefully 2 to 3 chapters per video. However, these chapters are long. It is a 600-page novel or book, so it's gonna be quite a few videos anyway. I can only upload so much time frame. So, yeah. So we'll see how many. Hopefully, it won't be. I can do about 3 chapters per video. I'm not going to be talking in the video. I'm just going to be reading. But as always, comment. Make sure you do all the things and let me know if you have any book suggestions as well. All right. Love you guys. See you in the next one. Bye. Which obviously is going to be today too because I'm stoked to start reading this. Duh. Bye.